Well, hey everybody. This week's video, what we're going to be talking about in it is actually what we were supposed to be talking about last time we were scheduled to meet for youth group. Now, I'm not going to guilt anybody for not showing up, that kind of thing. That's not what this is about. But I just want to remind you that we're still there. I'm still here. I'm trying my best to find ways for us to connect. I know Zoom isn't the best way to do that, but just to allow all of us to engage in ways, it hasn't been easy. And I know it's not as easy, and it's not as fun. Youth group hasn't been as fun or as connected as we were in the past. But I want to encourage you to stick it out. You know, we're never meant to do church alone. We're never meant to live our lives alone, and we have the ability to connect in a lot of different ways. And if you follow up with these videos and you're able to come to youth group and do those different things, and we see that Sunday school is going to be coming back at the beginning of next month, we've been able to learn and to be challenged a lot more than we were when things were normal. And I want to encourage you to keep going at it. So that's all I'm going to address about it. I'm going to try to still create different ways for us to do some fun things. I'm open to different ideas, whether that be an outside football game, just because the weather and the fall weather is perfect for that right now, or we can reschedule our movie day. But if you have any other ideas of things that we can do as a group or ways that we can connect that I haven't done so yet, please reach out to me and be happy to try those things out. But like I said at the beginning of this, we are going to be talking about and kind of continuing our series on doubt. If you were with us when we started this series a couple weeks ago, we talked about doubt. We started talking about doubt and the fact that, and the truth and reminder that we all have questions, that we all, whether we are Christians or not, we all have questions about this life and how we are supposed to live, all those different things. And as Christians specifically, we have questions about who God is, if He's real, and how we play into this story and His story. And we came back with the idea and the reminder and the challenge of that it's okay to have those questions, and that we need to find people or take those questions to God, Him directly, and to use the emotions that He has given us. We looked at 2 different Psalms and saw the importance of being able to share those different emotions and get those out instead of just holding on to them. But as we kind of continue going on, I want to use this video to talk and use that second lesson so we can keep going in this series on doubt. And this kind of gets us to this idea that doubt isn't this bad thing. This is what I really don't want us to wrestle with, is that we shouldn't doubt at all. And on the contrary, I think that we should be able to doubt, but not just sit with our doubt, but just to go and move forward from it. And I hope that's what you gain from this whole series that we're in. But I want to, the big idea that I want us to walk away with today is that we have those questions, that we've seen that we can have those questions and that we should be wrestling with those questions. But we shouldn't be afraid to ask those questions or to have doubt specifically. And we're going to go to a very famous passage when you're thinking about doubt and things, because this person's nickname is Doubting. This is the story of Thomas, or better known as Doubting Thomas, after Jesus raises from the dead, and he has been seen by the majority of the disciples. They go and they tell Thomas that wasn't with them when they had seen him, that Jesus is alive. And we get this interaction that happens in John chapter 20. It's only a couple verses, so I'm going to read it for us. I normally don't do that, but I figured I'd read it for us. But this starts in John 20, verse 24. I'm going to read to 29, just this short interaction. It says, "But Thomas, called Twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples went telling him, 'We have seen the Lord.' But he said to them, 'If I don't see the mark of the nails in his hands, put my finger into the mark of the nails, and put my hand into his side, I will never believe.' A week later, his disciples were indoors again, and Thomas was with them. Even though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, 'Peace be with you.' Then he said to Thomas, 'Put your finger here and look at my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Don't be faithless, but believe.' Thomas responded, 'My Lord and my God.' Jesus said, 'Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe.'" When it comes to this story, we always kind of take it and kind of put Thomas in this bad light of, yeah, he doubted, and Jesus had to show him up by doing this. I don't think that was Jesus' intent by having this happen and letting it happen the way that it did. You see, that Jesus doesn't go to Thomas and he doesn't get angry at Thomas for doubting. He doesn't punish him for wanting to have proof that Jesus was alive and that it was actually him. He doesn't shame him for having questions or not believing the disciples without any evidence. And he does exactly what Thomas wanted him to do. He said, if Jesus is really back and I saw him die, I knew that he died and saw him in the tomb. If what you're saying is true, I need to have a little bit of proof. So Jesus then shows up and lets him do what he said that he wanted to do, to see the marks in his hands and the wound in his side. And we hear all the time that get this idea thrown around a lot that we as Christians need to have this blind faith. And I don't think that's exactly what our faith should look like. I think that it doesn't mean that we don't have to have support or true evidence of what's going on, because in fact, this whole book is evidence to who God is and who Jesus is and the truth and the resurrection. This was written, these Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they were written years, decades after Jesus' death, resurrection, and ascension back into heaven. And so a lot of the audience that was originally intended for these writings never got to experience Jesus truly in person, but they had to rely on these stories. And yes, there were hundreds of witnesses, and we see that, and there is different ways that you can look at and do your research and see that Jesus was who he says he was because of the eyewitness accounts. So I don't think we can go ahead and just say that we as Christians should have just blind faith, but rather when we do have these questions, when we do doubt the existence of God, or if Jesus truly was God, the Son of God, that we go to him, we have those questions, and we ask for God to give us a bit of evidence and do our own due diligence, do that to be able to find out for ourselves if this is what we want to believe, and if we can believe the evidence that we are given. So we don't have to just sit in our questions. We don't have to be afraid to not ask those questions, but we can have a little bit more of an assurance by taking that first step and asking those questions and being willing to see and want to have a little bit of evidence with it. God isn't going to shame us. We shouldn't feel as Christian leaders that I'm going to shame you, that the church is going to shame you for having questions. In fact, I would encourage you, if you have questions, to look for those answers, to come to me, to come to another Christian that you value and ask them why they believe what they believe, and help you get those tools and find those things. Because we see here that, Thomas doubted. There's no question about that. But Jesus doesn't respond to him with shame or guilt about those questions, but just allows him to find that evidence that he needs, that solid truth that he needs to have that response of my Lord, my God, and know that is truly Jesus, and that Jesus was who he said he was for Thomas in that moment. So that's what the encouragement I want to leave with you today, is that if you have those doubts, those questions about your faith, or if you don't have that at all and you're just kind of dipping your toe in the water just to see what this is all about, it's okay. I'm not going to shame you. God's not going to shame you. And he and I and a good Christian should encourage you to look for that evidence. And I'd be happy to point you in that direction. And God gives us evidence too. So that's what I got for you guys today. Hope you're doing well. If you need me, I'm here. But that's what I got for you. Have a good one.